Thanks for joining me. Congrats on The Silent Planet. I thought it was great.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I read your director's statement. I saw the movie, of course, and so I was reading about what sort of led to the creation of your story here, which is very interesting, of course. And I think a lot of people can relate to, that sort of childhood fascination with venturing off to another planet. But I was curious also because, it deals with these kind of inmates of sorts, and, everyone's fascinated with true crime these days and reading all those screamer headlines. So I was curious if that sort of current trend at all played a part in you crafting your story, since this is sort of a recent project, or maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think that I was, particularly thinking about anything true crime or any particular stuff like that. No. I was
Um,
thinking a lot about, just guilt and people facing their guilt and
right,
facing the past and whatnot, but nothing specific, no specific kind of stories from the real world that inspired it.
for sure. Yeah, I was just curious
Yeah,
because
yeah.
everyone's seems to be obsessed with stuff like that. So,
Oh, for sure.
uh,
Yeah, it's crazy how much of that is out there these days.
yeah, I and I was curious, could you talk about, I mean, I love the two central performances, and I was curious, could you talk about sort of working behind the scenes with them to sort of achieve that tense and often sort of shifting dynamic with them, beyond just sort of, words leaping off the page. I'd love to hear more.
About how I worked with them.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah. Um, well, luckily there are two really great people and very open and easy to work with and just lovely people. Um, so, a lot of it in the beginning was just when we were in different places, we just have conversations talking about the character. So Elias really connected with this character.
Yeah.
And he kind of took it deep inside himself, which I was really grateful for.
Mm.
Um, and then Brianna as well was so great with that. And a lot with her was talking about kind of the how she grew up because she is raised by aliens. She's a human who is raised by aliens, and what is it about the alien culture that influences who she is? So a lot of just the discussions with her were about how she views humanity and how she views the world. So she has a real hatred for humanity because of what it did to her parents, but she is a human. So there's a real inner conflict within her, but kind of hating herself because hating the human parts of herself. Um, because humans are weak and they're vengeful and they're all these things that the aliens are not. Um, so yeah, for her it was a lot of talking about who these aliens are and how that formed who she is as a person.
Right. And yeah, and then the little bot, the name's escaping me, who the
Jenny.
yeah, right, who she's talking to and often, butts heads with. Could you talk about, I mean, did you have a vision for how that would act and look like from the get-go? Or did you find yourself revisiting, I don't know, sci-fi classic novels or movies to sort of fuel your vision for it?
Yeah. So initially, when I was writing it, I imagined something a little bit lo-fi and cute, but I didn't have a specific vision. And we got into developing it. A big inspiration for it was the Jetsons.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the maid character had these
Yeah.
kind of dials for eyes. So we kind of were inspired by that character in designing Janie. Um, but yeah, I think for the character of Naia, Brianna's character, uh, in her mind, she wanted to be alone. That was what she dreamed of, but she didn't really. She actually really wanted to find companionship. So there's this begrudging moments where she finds herself just chatting with Janie, but then being upset with herself for doing it. So yeah, that was.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. And
And of course, there's Hal.
right.
So yeah,
Yeah. The femme fatale from 2001. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and would you, I mean, th th this was a very, it's a it's a movie, it has a conclusion, but you've really introduced us to this cool little planet universe. Would you be interested in, ask a question like this, and the filmmakers or actors might say, "Oh, well, let's see how the first movie did." But I was curious if you, maybe from the get-go or along the way, were interested in revisiting this territory with new characters or continuing any sort of storyline for a future project or seeing it as potential for the small screen or anything like that.
Yeah, and actually not that I thought of it as that it would have a sequel or anything. Like I usually, I wasn't thinking along those lines. But there was in the script, there was another spaceship that comes out. The last note
Mhm.
was another spaceship landing on the planet. So now that well, no, I checked. Well, spoilers alert. I can't say that, but yeah. So there was an idea that maybe it would continue. And as I was doing, it's like, it'd be fun to like explore the Oeans and how they came to Earth. But I don't know. Who knows? I haven't been working on anything.
Yeah. I was just curious if that ever popped into your mind, like, oh,
Definitely
'cause,
thought about it with this one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And shooting on location in Newfoundland, I mean, that's so interesting. It looked like you were certainly shooting on location somewhere, but I had to look it up, of course. I couldn't begin to guess. I mean, was that your plan? Was that the set location from the beginning? Were you scouting other locations? Because I mean, it looked beautiful.
Yeah, we were funded out of Canada, so we knew we were going to shoot in Canada.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't gonna be co-production. Canada's a big place, of course. I
Yeah.
live in Ontario, and there's nothing in Ontario that's like there's some nice landscape, but like it's a nice province, but there's nothing like striking or complete. So we knew we had to kind of go to another province. So we just started. I just started like looking around and see like what province has the best mix of beautiful scenery and film friendly you know, crews and tax credits and whatnot.
Cool.
And yeah, now like yeah, there's just it when there's a few places in Newfoundland. It's just so unique. And that's really what we wanted. Something, we've seen a lot of sci-fi film shot in various deserts and stuff,
Right.
which is great and they're beautiful and everything. But this was a particularly unique scenery that you can't get anywhere else in the world. Um, so it felt perfect when we kind of landed on this Tablelands area and then some of the other locations around Newfoundland we shot.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, I love the end result, so I think you guys made the right choice. Um,
Yeah, yeah, we definitely. I knew we wanted to shoot on location. We didn't want to go
right,
shoot those
right,
interiors with the
right.
LED one or anything. But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Have you been keeping up with the other sci-fi? Have you been watching other sci-fi projects, whether it's TV shows or movies in recent years? Something else that sort of caught your eye that you found inspirational, whether for this movie or just in general, something you liked in the similar genre?
yeah. Well, I've been loving the sort of Apple TV sci-fi movies, sci-fi shows that have been coming out with lately. They're really like I like Silo and
Oh yeah,
Severance and Dark Matter, and I was like, yeah, there's some great stuff out there in the TV side of things
yeah,
for sci-fi.
yeah,
It's not like I'm not a sci-fi specific filmmaker. This was the only first sci-fi thing I've done. But I got a few more ideas and I do enjoy it. But yeah, no, there's definitely some cool stuff out there.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I'm excited for people to see this. I mean, it's a sci-fi thriller. People, I think, sometimes are quick to associate sci-fi with, spaceships blowing up and, there being wars and whatnot. And so I think it's
Yeah.
cool that you
Yeah, it's
you
not
took the more
action.
thriller psychological approach. I think,
Yeah, like I thought of it as very much about the characters.
yeah,
The space being on another planet is almost just like a metaphor for the extreme isolation of the
right.
characters in a weird way. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, so kind of a
yeah.
thriller. Yeah, it does kind of become a bit of a thriller, but
Or
really,
yeah, but yeah, the psychological, yeah, and it is a
yeah.
wonderful metaphor, and I think people are really gonna respond to that for sure.
Thank you.
And my last question before we go, I'm sure you've heard Gene Hackman recently passed
Yeah,
away.
yeah, just this morning, right?
Yeah. I was curious, do you have a favorite movie of his? If you had to pick one or something that
Uh,
comes to mind.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Royal Tenenbaums,
Oh, yeah.
which I love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. No, that's so tragic with his wife and the yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he was phenomenal in that. So,
Yeah.
and a bunch of other things.
Sure.
Well, great. Well, congratulations again on The Silent Planet. Can't wait for everyone else to see it. And it was very nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much, Will.
Thank you. Take care.